done with introduction to project 1. How's everybody feeling about it? Do we have any questions? No? Okay, cool. Is everybody feeling confident, ready to go, ready to get started, a little scared?
Somewhat.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
What about it is a little like overwhelming to you?
Just hope I'm able to like not mess up a lot. but it's probably gonna be like part of the process anyway. I'm like messing up a lot, so
I fully anticipate every single one of you to maybe have to redo the project, because you'll get going and you'll say, oh, I don't like this, this is not working. You shake your little angry fist, and you just, that's the beauty of clay, because you can just take it and just smush it back together and start fresh.
Right.
So don't be
it looks so easy though.
Right, that's the trick. It's really like, potters are very deceptive because they really can just go in and just go whoosh, 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 and finish something really fast, but they don't tell you how simple and how difficult it can actually be. So my advice is take your time, watch the videos, work step by step by step, and have, like I said, have a plan to work towards, and don't say that you have to stick to that plan. Don't say, this is the pot I'm going to make, this is what it's going to be when I'm finished, because chances are you're going to, deviate a little bit as you go. Maybe as you're working, you decide you don't want it quite as wide, so you'll narrow it in. So just a time limit for how quick it can be. I made my 2 pots, so I made 2 of these in about 3 days. And that was with breaks, that was with letting them dry. So that was painting, burnishing. So just keep that in mind while you're working. It's not gonna, it seems like a lot now because you're not in it, but once you're in it, it'll be easy peasy.
Right. All right.
All right. Any other fears? Any other questions? No? Everybody feeling pretty confident? Cool. So we've got I finished that a little faster than I anticipated. Do you all want to do like a demo, or do you want to call it for the day? Do you want to go over the basic intro to ceramics PowerPoint? What is everybody feeling like? Quiet. We're quiet. A demo would be cool. I can do a demo. All right. If I can get, I don't know if I like that view. Gotta set up your Twitch stream or whatever. Alrighty, cool. So looks like we've got a good view of the workspace. So I've just got about, this is maybe 4 or 5 pounds of clay. Ooh, there it is right there. And I'm just going to roll out a couple coils just to give you guys an idea of what that's like. I've already rolled out one. This is just a small coil, and I'm going to turn this one, there it is. I'm going to turn this one into a name stamp, which I definitely recommend everybody doing. That way they remember to sign their pieces, and they've got like a fun little bit of like personalized customization. Makes you feel like a professional potter. So I've got my coil here that I'm just going to set aside. So when looking at your clay, when we're thinking about clay, we want to make sure it's like a nice consistency. I can squeeze it and move it, but it's not like floppy in my hand. Another thing to think about, and this is a term we'll go over later, is plasticity. And you can like, see this one's not like super plastic because when I bent it, it cracked over here. So we want plasticity, and that's going to help when you build your pot, being able to curve without breaking. And this clay is what we would call short. It's a little short, and that just means it needs to age a little bit. And that would make sense because I made it fresh. So another thing to think about, save all your scraps, because I can show you how to repurpose them and make them fresh again. So no waste. So we've got approximately a pound here, and I'm just gonna come through and I'm gonna wedge it. And I'm wedging with one hand, which isn't advised, but it's sort of a small piece of clay. When we wedge, we want to basically compress your clay particles together, so that way it'll lie flat and it won't try to go everywhere. Because something that's important to think about is clay, like water, has memory. So if I were to roll out a big sheet of clay and pick it up over here and then move it over here, and in the process of moving it, I were to twist it a little bit, if I didn't give it attention later to address that, as it dries, it's going to remember that I twisted it, and it'll like seize up and be like, oh my gosh, I remember that time you twisted me, trauma, childhood trauma, oh no. But clay has memory, and it's important to remember that while we are working with things, specifically slabs, not so much coils. Coils are a little bit more flexible. Slabs will remember when you mess up. All right, so it's easy to sort of start a coil. I like to start with like a big fat coil right here. I like to take it between my hands and just, just like when you were a kid working with Play-Doh, like to make it a little bit longer, a little bit skinnier. And then from there, I'm just gonna take both my hands just like this, and I'm gonna roll it and move my hands outward. This is how we roll a coil. It's very easy. This is the best way to get a consistently even coil, and if you make the full rotation, it's going to stay rounder. So just in and out, just like that. And if, say, like you've got one part of your arm, like maybe your right hand's a little stronger than the other, and you find that like the right hand is a little skinnier than the left hand because you are accidentally putting a little pressure, no worries. You just go in and hit that other side. So the trick is to start at the center and just roll outward. And what I like to do, especially with coiling, is I like to take my little pincher fingers and just pinch the side. That's going to make it flat on one side. So that way, that side, you've got a top and a bottom, and I've got that flat side, which will be the wall. So when I coil, it'll coil just like that. And I've got a flat top half to start the next coil. Any questions so far? All right, so I've taken my fettling knife and I've sort of cut a ridge here, and I've cut it at an angle. And this is important because if we want to cut at an angle, when I make this connection, I want these to lie flat together. So if they are both like at 45-degree angles, they're going to fit together perfectly. If they're both at like funny angles, or if you've got one that's a little round, you're going to have a hard time, you know, meeting it evenly. So if I've got one angle that's going down this way, I want the other angle to go this way. And it's very easy to just cut that and do that. And it should just sit really nicely. We've got a nice circle. From there, at this point, we have a coil. This is a pretty good base for our pot. However, you can make a base another way, and this is how I recommend maybe starting, getting a little chunk of clay and just pinching it out like so, and then slapping it a couple times to get it nice and flat. And I like to steal like lids for things. And just like a cookie cutter, just pushing that in. And you can just sort of get your fingers really lightly, and you'll just have a nice circle base to sort of start your pot from. And you can do that as wide or as narrow as you need. Let me grab a little. Alrighty, so my clay is pretty wet. Normally you'd use a little bit of slip to connect with, but if your clay is pretty moist, you can just use water. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do something. This is how we sort of glue our pieces together, and that's slipping and scoring, and it's very simple. I'm just going to hit the edges of my little circle base here, and then I'm going to go the opposite direction, so we cross hatch. And what this does, we're going to do it on both sides, so I'm going to do it on the base, and I'm also going to do it on the coil. And what this does is it creates like a layer of suction. So the holes in the base piece and the holes in the top piece are going to just suck together. And then when you go to scrape it and smooth it up, it'll be a nice formed pot, I guess. I'm going to hit the top half of my coil here. And scoring is really important, because if you don't score well, what's going to end up happening is your pieces are just going to pop off. They're not going to adhere. So when you go to score, really dig down in there and don't just like casually just go scratch, scratch, scratch. Really mean it, you know, like I really mean this scoring. So I'm going to hit it with a little bit of water. And coiling is super simple. We're just going to match the base. And when we have to coil, when we keep coiling up like this in a spiral motion, that 45-degree angle that's like this is going to allow us to just go right up the side without any like rocky transitions. Make sure you slip and score your next connection point. And we just are going to keep going. And there we go. We've just got a nice little coil pot. And from here, you can keep going. You can keep going up. Say I wanted to go outward.